Hello there, Becky here from Chimera Crafting. I'm going to do some dyeing today. Now the idea behind this one actually came from, I have a fans group on Facebook. Periodically in there I will post saying that I've got a couple of skeins spare, and I invite the members of that group to comment with ideas of colours that they'd like to see me dye. There's no obligation to buy or anything like that. It's kind of just for a bit of fun, but it also gets my creative juices flowing too. So what I do is after the comments, I randomly determine the winner with the roll of a dice. And this time's winner was a lovely lady called Alison, who has given me permission to use her name. Now, she decided on wintry sky blue, cyclamen pink and sunshine yellow. And I thought that was a really interesting combination. So interesting that the idea has kind of grown in my head a little bit, and I've decided to show you two different techniques with two different results using the exact same colour, mixed to the exact same strength as well. So the yarn that I'm going to be using is Blueface Leicester and nylon 4-ply. It's a beautiful yarn, obviously quite fine as it's 4-ply. So there we go. I'm going to show you the bare yarn next, and then I will show you one technique, and then I will show you the next technique, and I will be finishing with the big reveal, and we'll compare how different the skeins look, excuse me, between the two different methods. Brilliant. So here is the yarn. I use reusable cable ties in order to make sure that my skeins don't get tangled whilst I'm dyeing. All they need is a wash and a bit of a scrub in between uses to make sure that they don't transfer dye. So I just wanted to do a little bit about PPE and the safety aspects of dyeing. I use acid dyes, professional grade acid dyes, because they give me really good pigment, consistent results reasonably, as best as any sort of method and technique can offer. However, acid dyes are not food safe. Any equipment that you use when you're dyeing with acid dyes must never be used for food preparation. All of my equipment is entirely separate. So I don't use a pan, or like I might use a crock pot or something like that. That crock pot is only for dyeing the slow cooker. I also use a respirator mask. You can see this very attractive affair here. And this is because the fine powders in acid dyes are very bad for you if you inhale them. So I use this. As you can hear, it's not very good for talking through. So as a result, during the video, I will be doing a bit of a voiceover instead, because of course I'm wearing this whilst I'm working, and you don't want to hear a muffly Becky. Obviously I also use gloves to protect my hands, and I always wear old clothes. So I've got a fabulous t-shirt and an old fleece that it doesn't matter if I get splashes on, that sort of thing. Okay, wonderful. So here is the tray that I'll be using to dye the yarn. It's a steamer tray, a catering one. It's ideal for this purpose. So I'm going to be adding some acidic water, and this is to pre-soak the yarn in. And I'll be arranging the yarn in a semi-random fashion in here. I don't want the colourway to sit on it like a perfect gradient. I want it to be able to intermingle. So you can see I've kind of scruffled that yarn up. It's laying in that direction, sort of top to bottom, so to speak, with the cable ties being at the top. Now, zooming in, you can see that the fibres have started to bloom. And here are the dyes. We have the blue, pink, and the sunshiny yellow. These have all been mixed specifically for this dye. I'm going to show you what they look like on this bit of kitchen roll. So not quite as dark as they might look in the pot there. And that pink. And the beautiful sunshine yellow as well. There we are. Now this is my steamer tray on top of the cooker that I use. I'm adding the dye. This is cold, or everything is cold at the moment. I'm pouring the dye in. I've roughly mentally divided the tray up into thirds for the purpose of this particular method. So I'm going in with the pink next, across the middle. You can already see how the blues and the pinks are starting to intermingle a little bit. And then we're going for that gorgeous yellow down at the bottom here. Wonderful. So zooming in to have a look at how those colours are starting to play, you can see the temperature's starting to come up, a little bit of steam happening. And this will encourage the dye to bite into the yarn quite quickly. Adding a little bit extra as I see fit. Less is more at the beginning. You get some beautiful purples coming through up at the top there. Those are gorgeous lilac shades, and then here we have it after it's been cooking a little bit longer. So I'm testing to see if the dye is exhausted. That means all been used up, that there's none left in the water. And you can see that there is still a little bit left. This means that it needs to cook for a while longer, especially that yellow. Getting some gorgeous colours coming out though. That gentle blue at the top there is just stunning with those lilac-y notes that you can see. So we've been cooking a little while. You can see it's quite steamy, but you can also see how now the yarn has had opportunity to really soak up that dye, and the dye has moved with the currents of the hot water circulating. We've got some really interesting results. Again, I'm testing to see if the dye is exhausted, and it's looking pretty good. Check that yellow. I turned the pan around, by the way, because I have a small hob on the front and a large one on the back, so it was just to make sure the heat distributed. And ta-da! We are rinsing. How beautiful is this? I'm so impressed. Wonderful, delicate variegation, and some really pretty intermingled colours as well, while still keeping the main colours that Alison requested separate, but with a little bit of blending in between. So this is the second technique. You can see I've arranged the yarn in my crock pot to be almost like a spiral pattern. This is because I didn't want the striped areas. So we're going in with the blue first of all. Again, I've mentally divided it up into rough thirds where I'm going to place the colour. Next up is the yellow. So I've altered the order of the colour here as well. Of course we did pink here last time. And then there's that gorgeous pink going in at the bottom. Now there's plenty of water in here, so the yarn is going to, the dye rather, is going to circulate around and intermingle in a very, very different way. So this is part way through, and doesn't it look like a murky mess? I am trusting the process at this point. So moving on to the rinsing. So you can see it has a very different effect to the first one. There's a lot more blending of colour, a lot more intermingling that's happened. Absolutely gorgeous shades coming through here though. I really like some of the sort of muted blue yellows that you can see. So here we are, here's the reveal. This is the yarn from the first experiment as a skein. Very beautiful colours. I love that intermingling that you can see there. And then I have the other opened out, so you can admire how those colours work and play together. Let's have a little zoom in so you can see some of the detail. Stunning. I'm so impressed with how this worked with the different how the different shades have intermingled with each other. So we do have definite separate solid colour sections for variegation, but there's some wonderfully random blending that's occurred too. So let's zoom right out. There we go. Let's move on to number 2. So here is the second one. Much more muted, a lot more intermingling of colours are occurring here. Let's turn the skein over. We still have the requested colours in part, so we've still got that goldy colour, still got a little bit of blue and some of the pinky shades. Excuse me if you heard that, that was my cat jumping. But yeah, I would describe this as more watercolour, I think, more muted. Here's the open skein. Very, very pretty though, much more delicate. Let's zoom in so you can see some of the delicate colour changes and intermingling of pigment. There we go. So I'd love to know which one you prefer out of the two. Let's pop the skein together. So here are the two different techniques, different skeins laid next to each other so you can admire in all their glory. Please do let me know which one you prefer out of the two, this being the first method and this being the second. So I hope you really enjoyed that. I had great fun with both of the different methods and examining both of the results. If you did enjoy it, please do leave me a comment. I do appreciate that. It lets me know that I'm going along the right track with creating the sort of content and videos that you would like to see. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope it cheers up your dreary January just a little bit. And take care for now. Bye bye.